So now it is my very great pleasure to introduce Lou Robson, the first of our two guest speakers tonight. As I mentioned, Lou is a retrainer and a dressage rider from Thoroughbred Dressage in the UK, and I'm looking forward to hearing her perspectives on second career and what good looks like. Thanks very much, Lou.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everybody, or good evening. Hope you're all well. I really do appreciate this. So I've got a slide presentation, if we could start that, which I'm hoping will work. Give it a second to load. So basically, I am here. I am a retrainer. If we start with the next slide, please. I'm a retrainer in the UK. I retrain for a wide variety of people. If we could go to there we go. I am a dressage rider, so I kind of wear, I suppose, two kind of hats, but I put them together of I am a dressage rider and I retrain racehorses for a living. The thoroughbred is my absolute passion. It's my love, and it's what I'm about. I am known as the girl on thoroughbreds here in the UK. My most successful former racehorse is the bay there in the photo, which is Quadrille, who was bred by Queen Elizabeth II and is owned by His Majesty the King. We have 3 horses from the royal family here. And then the image in the top right is Saint Gregoire, who is part of the Godolphin Lifetime Care program. I have him as well as another horse called Minobo, both from the program, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about what it's like to be a retrainer here in the UK, the positives and the maybe not so positive moments, all the things that we have to navigate, along with, like Elliot kind of looked to, which was what is good. So the next slide, please. So the kind of concerns that we, like the struggles and the concerns that we have as a retrainer here in the UK, I know it's obviously different for everyone across the world, is that time is a big factor. So if it's a private owner, the amount of time that we have to assess these horses, retrain these horses, and possibly find new homes for these horses, that is a struggle. The amount of money that is also then available within that time. Most owners come in saying, I have a certain amount of money for 6 weeks of retraining, or 8-9 weeks, and then the horse needs to find a new home. So it depends on the horse, their personality, their history, as to where is that line of what can we do, what can we offer, does this horse need more time, where are the funds available? Like, it is something that we're constantly having to navigate. That being said, space as well, you know, we have to navigate field space, stable space according to seasons of year, winter, summer, what have we got? I can honestly say that most of us probably think about converting a tack room into a stable to try and accommodate another horse, because at the end of the day, we're all working so that these horses don't become vulnerable. So what can we do to make sure these horses have the best either first step, or a lot of the work that I do is that horses that maybe have gone onto private homes and then the owners are then struggling to understand these horses. So again, it's how can we stop these horses becoming vulnerable? But that requires space, time, money, affordability. Like, if we're meant to run this as a business, not just as because we feel good about ourselves, but we still have to fund ourselves. So how do we then take these horses, try and explain to owners, syndicates, trainers that it's going to cost X amount of pounds, and if we sell the horse, it's going to be for a nominal fee. It's not going to be a profit, but again, how it turns sometimes into how long is a piece of string. We also then, in the retraining space, we kind of then maybe struggle to not provide continued care, but what does that look like, and the availability that we have with that. So, you know, kind of with staffing, also possibly like if the horse doesn't work in the home and it has to come back, again, do we have the space? Do we have the time? Do we have the money available to be able to offer that horse the best case scenario possible? And we all try and do our best, and we all try and make it work. But, you know, these are factors that we're continually having to work through as a retrainer, kind of as a commercial retrainer. The next slide, please. So within that, we then also, on top of that, it's then the traceability and the responsibility that we then have. And sorry, next slide, if possible, please. There we go. And then the next slide after that. Is the kind of within the traceability. So here in the UK, we have a non-racing agreement, and we then also have the change of ownership on the passport. Now, it's quite difficult sometimes to navigate getting that change of ownership done in the passport, because we have to send the passport off to our governing body. And when with people's lives happen, things change. And so when you send a passport off, you're then also hoping that the person still turns up to pick the horse up. Or if they're using a transporter, obviously the passport has to go with the horse. So kind of working within compliance of trying to do everything and making sure that we know where these horses are, so we can provide, again, that kind of preventing the horse becoming vulnerable. We always want happy stories, we want happy homes, we want horses to thrive. You know, we've just got to make sure that every step we're doing right by these horses, but the compliance within that does sometimes become a bit of a struggle. On top of the yard work that we're doing, we're trying to do the retraining, we're trying to help people, help horses. Like, there's quite a lot that we have to do and kind of navigate. Next slide, please. So as a retrainer, I always kind of say that we wear multiple hats as a retrainer, and we are kind of working within three aspects, which is to promote, support, and connect. So next slide, please. So within the promotion space, we are helping kind of create demand for these horses, but we are promoting retraining. What does retraining look like? And also responsible retraining. We're promoting welfare at every level. So again, what does that look like, not only to people that are considering these horses, but the general public? We are promoting the responsible ownership of owners, syndicates, trainers, and trying to highlight good levels of ownership. We're promoting possibilities. So if you want to compete to a high level, or if you want to go hacking, or you want an all-rounder, we are constantly promoting we all know that the thoroughbred is adaptable, they're versatile, they are the most adaptable breed, they are phenomenal, but we also have to promote that possibility within that. And that again leads into the kind of the routes and the options. So again, not all horses leaving racing need to continue in a ridden space. So how can we promote the possibilities within that, and working with charities and local communities? So we're already kind of trying to promote the thoroughbred at every level. Next slide, please. Within the support, we are not only just supporting sorry, that's a video, that's William and a community. So in the support, we are supporting trainers. So obviously the horses transitioning out of racing, we are offering a space for trainers to be able to send their horses. We are also supporting the connection between the racing and the retraining space. We are supporting syndicates to try and keep high interest in these horses, to try and keep funding within these horses. We are also supporting avenues for them, because again, some of them might not be well versed in owning horses, what that means, apart from going to the races, what a life after racing looks like. We are also supporting the potential new owner of these horses if the horse has gone through the retraining process, both in kind of the application process, so talking to them about how their setup looks like, what they're envisioning with their life, with their next horse, but also once the horse has left us, how can we then support that owner a little bit, because we're very aware that obviously when the horse is here with us or in other retraining centres, the horse might display certain behaviours and we can match make to the best of our abilities. But we also understand these horses. We work with these horses day in and day out. So when the horse goes to a new environment with someone that maybe isn't quite so inclined to understanding their first career, that's when we get more phone calls and we get things saying, you know, things aren't quite going right. So it's also about that continued kind of aftercare of the horses leaving us. And within that, we're then supporting the horse at every step. So being hotshod for the first time, understanding that we have to best prepare these horses for, and trying to work out what makes them happy and what makes them thrive, to then be able to find the appropriate person or family for them. We also have to support other professionals and practitioners. So we are also then supporting farriers and physios and saddlers to best understand these horses, because we have some professionals that are maybe slightly scared of shoeing the thoroughbred foot in a new kind of, in the different way, in the different balance of being a riding horse. Some physios, again, they've learnt how horses should feel, not necessarily what a thoroughbred out of racing might feel like. So we are trying to also educate and create like a professionals network within the retraining space as well. Next slide, please. And then the last one, which is then to connect. Within the connection, again, this professionals network, we're working with vets again to best understand best practices, a little bit of where these horses go, what type of homes they go into. And we are just then, which also building confidence within the professionals network, which also we have to be as transparent as we can, again putting the horse's welfare first, and we're creating like a holistic approach. So the way I phrase it is a home team, so getting your vet, farrier, saddler, physio, nutritionist, trainer all on board, because even down to training, I knew from experience with people saying I want to maybe have a dressage horse, or I'm thinking about dressage, they might go to a dressage rider that again doesn't understand the biomechanics and the balance of these horses. You know, they've been bred to race, so their body is built for that job. So what does that mean by like biomechanically when we sit on them and we're asking them a different question? What pressures are we putting on them, which means we might have miscommunications, which can then lead to moments where people say that having a former racehorse is a negative thing, or I wouldn't do that because, you know, everyone is working so hard, and the conversation has changed from, you know, in inverted commas, the crazy ex-racehorse. But within that, we then have a responsibility to then make sure that people understand these horses at every stage. So even just not just the beginning stages, but if you're thinking of producing them to advanced levels, what does their body look like? What help do they need? And again, that comes as a full team approach. It doesn't come as an individual approach. So the next slide, please. And then straight into the next slide. So I am very fortunate that I work with Godolphin Lifetime Care. I go and do their events. And here is a bit of a video to show about what they do. And I'm going to talk about them.
Godolphin was born of a passion for the thoroughbred horse. And part of Godolphin's business globally is to promote and provide the best possible care for these horses throughout their lifetime.
Couldn't be any prouder. I'm like a proud mother.
He's such a big character, such a nice horse to work with.
I can't think of another animal that has so much heart.
I'm just so proud of his attitude, and it really speaks volumes to the versatility of the thoroughbreds.
The whole process is so rewarding and fulfilling.
Their careers aren't over when they've done racing. They have got so much to provide.
When they're finished having their babies, we get to bring them back home and keep them here on the farm, and they get to just live out their days happily.
The general consensus is that these guys don't have suitable temperaments to be retrained as performance horses. It's so incorrect.
We're trying to find forever homes where they'll be loved forever, because that is something they deserve, a chance at a second career.
So the next slide, please. So like I said, I'm very fortunate that I get to work with the team at Godolphin Lifetime Care in Newmarket. I am part of I do some of their events, which is a huge honour. And I always say to anybody, if you're looking for kind of the 10-star way of doing retraining, responsible ownership and rehoming, the full lifetime care of the thoroughbred, it is Godolphin Lifetime Care. The process that they have the whole way through for the life of the thoroughbred is something that I really do think that, well, I always aspire to, and I think that many should kind of look into it. So when the horses first leave racing, when they, you know, the first thing that happens if their racing careers come to an end is that the first thing that's done is that they are signed out. So they all come with a non-racing agreement, and it's put in place. So we already have that first step of traceability and responsibility. The horse then arrives at Godolphin rehoming, and the best part is also that these horses come with a full vet and racing history known. So some of our work as being a retrainer, when we get horses come from different places, we're playing a bit of guesswork of, we don't get the full reports, we don't get the full understanding. But at Godolphin Lifetime Care, you get that full vet history, you get the racing history. It's a full family affair, if you want to call it that. And from there, it also then helps guide what these horses, we're already thinking about, okay, how will these horses be best suited in what sort of homes? You know, how have they transitioned out of racing? What do they need? And it gives us a little bit of an insight. Obviously, we're still very open in our kind of mindfulness of horses do change post-racing with that bit of downtime, but it starts to guide us a little bit, which is already a massive help. So once they've arrived at Godolphin rehoming, they kind of start their downtime. So they either go to the field, and that's either for 6 to 9 months, depending on the horse, what they need. But if they've come in with an injury that needs a bit of rehab, that is done before they then go to the field. So that first kind of concern point as a retrainer of time, these horses are already being given the correct amount of time post-racing for everything just to kind of settle down and start that new environment, that new routine. So that kind of is already kind of a big tick. Next slide, please. Once they've they've had their rest period and they come in and they start working, the next stage of the process is that we've already assessed the horses, so we know, like, we've already got them walk, trot, canter, popping a fence if that's what they want to do, hacking alone and or in company, again, if that is what they want to do, and we can do that. So we know the best thing, we know how these horses function, what they need, how they will thrive in their new environments. Application is made via a website, so what we're doing is we're already kind of streamlining a little bit of like who is suitable for which horse, and the horses' racing names aren't used, so it stops them people thinking, well, I want that famous racehorse. It's their stable names, so people, if they're successful in their application, they actually come and love the horse first and then learn about the legend that they are, which I think is a really lovely way around of doing it. Cilla Leonard is your kind of matchmaker. She is dedicated to going through these applications and dealing with people. She is on the floor to then help your riders and the staff that are within rehoming. So she is dedicated solely to that, as well as the running of the operation. If you're then successful in the application, you come and try the horse. There is an assessment of not only horse and human interaction, but it's also, again, time to start finding out about home environment, the setup, and how things are going to go. And again, this is all kind of on time. There's no rush. These horses are given the time they need. And you also then start to see, actually, is this horse ready for a different rider? Because it's really lovely at rehoming is that Sophie does the riding, but sometimes when you put a different rider on board, you see that the horses maybe mentally aren't ready to start having someone different. If you are successful in the application and the horse likes you and Cilla gives you the tick of approval, and you go to take the horse, first of all, the change of ownership is done in the passport. So again, that next tick of responsible ownership and traceability is done. And then once the horse is settled, Cilla normally gives them a week or two before she'll message and call, again, just to go through that transition period. But she is there on the phone or through messages, you know, as a kind of safeguarding line. Cilla will go and do a home check. So wherever in the UK they go to, she will go and see them, make sure everything is okay. And the door is still always open. So the nice thing at rehoming is that there is the time and there is the space. The love of the horse is always put first. So the horses can return at any point if that is what is deemed necessary, and there's no judgment, and it's absolutely perfect, which means that the horse is always looked after. Next slide, please. And then from thereafter, it's a bit like I was talking about, the kind of how do we keep supporting people, like creating these opportunities for additional support. So that in the UK, we have open days. So we have National Racehorse Week, we have the Henry Cecil Open Weekend. Godolphin Lifetime Care also have days with the retraining of racehorses, which is a bit more of a kind of in-depth knowledge-based day. So you can come, you can ask your questions, you can see demonstrations of the horses that are at rehoming. Invitations are also offered. So if there is maybe a slight question mark or concern, or an owner has raised, I have this problem with my horse, Godolphin will invite those people to come to these slightly more in-depth days or the open days, depending on how the person feels comfortable, to start the open transparency of talking and trying to find ways through, rather than people feeling like they can't approach them. There is also then the community work that they do with the charities, which is amazing. It's kind of the horses. There's a Man of Promise who goes and does work within the community to kind of promote the work that Godolphin does, but it's also highlighting those other opportunities that these thoroughbreds have if they don't want to be ridden, or their body doesn't allow them to be ridden, which is, you know, phenomenal. And I think it's an ever-growing space. Next slide, please. Also within that, when we're in the retraining process and creating the opportunities for these horses, the main factor is that time is given. And we all know that when we're training these horses, that it's not linear. It kind of goes up and down and spirals around a little bit. But the main thing is that you can, at Godolphin rehoming, these horses can be turned away during training spells if they need to, if they mentally or physically either need to grow, relax, think about what they're doing. The team of people is really small, which is lovely. So again, everyone knows and understands these horses. And it means also that we're learning about the environment that the horse needs and wants to thrive in. And it also shows potential new owners how this horse thrives in their environment. So it makes them think about their home setup and their home team. All disciplines are covered within Godolphin rehoming. We have some horses that have gone on to do falconry, some horses that are all-rounders, some horses that are happy hacks, and some that have gone into like para-equestrian sport, some that are eventers. You know, my horses, again, they go on to do dressage, hopefully to a high level if that's what they want to do, but the full range. And it doesn't matter about how much they've won, where they've been in the world. the main thing is that they're all given an equal opportunity to thrive in how that horse needs to find happiness post racing. And also because we understand these horses and they're given the time, we see them throughout different seasons of the year. So transitioning from winter to summer into spring. So we have a true reflection of the horse when they go into the bigger, wider world. And I think therefore we have a full round level of care of these horses at every single level. So that is me. Next slide. And thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And thank you for bearing with me while the video worked. Elliot, I am passing it back to you.
Thanks very much, Lou. Look, that's a lot of information there. There's a lot to unpack, and certainly the video was worth waiting for. Some incredible imagery there. I think it's really interesting when we think about the practical reality of aftercare is that it is tough when you're at the coalface. You're managing the demands of time. Time is money, is what we know. But what really struck me when you had the slide there, Lou, about connect, is that you are actually like you're leading a team of various professionals, whether they're from the farrier through to the people fitting a saddle. You are leading a team. Is that right?
Yeah, so my home team is phenomenal. I think I am nothing without my home team. I'm just like the photo you might see on social media of me cantering, hopefully with a sash, is the end product of their hard work. But again, I will also say that my home team, we've been learning as we've been going throughout the years. So kind of what do these horses need at every level? Because we get really focused on the early stages, but it's also the later stages of when we're potentially conformationally asking the horse, to sit, push, be uphill. It's the changes along the way and how the horse changes throughout the seasons. And also it's just working it through. But yeah, it's also then we have farrier evenings here because I know that some farriers are almost slightly scared to shoe thoroughbreds' feet in a certain way to provide support. And we also do it with our vets as well. Again, instead of them kind of going, well, because it's an ex-racehorse, it must have insert a concern. And so therefore, again, we're not only supporting people, we're also supporting practitioners and trying to help kind of increase knowledge and understanding of these horses to provide a better life long term. That's what we're trying to do as well, which is fun. It's just an extra bow.
Fantastic. So if anybody's got any questions of Lou, you need to put it into the Q&A button. So it's not the chat button. So on your screens, there is a Q&A button. So if you press that, it should open up a dialogue screen. And if you have any questions, please pop them there. Lou, I also was interested in your comments about helping horses thrive, because it's such a predominant thought now in contemporary animal welfare science, is that we're moving beyond this concept that welfare is about protecting animals from harm, but actually creating positive states for them. And it seems that the work that you do in finding the right niche for that particular talent of that horse is all about helping horses thrive.
It's being able to read the horse, like what makes them happy. We always talk about humans of like trying to find happiness, and there's always a big thing of like work-life balance within humans. It's same with horses. Like, how does this horse want to learn? How do they want to thrive? And reading them in different situations and being open to, I suppose, sometimes messy action of giving things a go and saying, well, did this horse actually really love this or did they not? It's really easy to almost pigeonhole some horses of like saying, well, because they're a national horse, like national hunt horse, so they like the jumps, they want to continue jumping, or because they're a flat horse, they won't want to go jumping. We've actually got to try all the options and go, actually, that horse really loved that, because we all want these horses to stay sound in mind and body throughout their lives. Like, we don't want to just pigeonhole them and be like, well, you will be this, or we think because you move like this, you should be this. It's listening to them of what makes them happy, because then they stay sounder for the long term. And that's all we want. We don't want horses to become vulnerable, but it's not even just becoming vulnerable, it's just being happy. And it's also being brave enough to say, actually, this horse doesn't like being in a stable. This horse actually wants to be out 24/7. So we've got to find that, and slightly digging your heels in a little bit when someone comes along and says, oh no, I can make it work, or no, I can do this. It's like, no, you're not the right person. And that's sometimes the hardest part of my job, is saying to owners and prospective owners, no, you're not the right person. And they're like, yeah, but I can. No, you're not the right person, the horse has said no, and then again the horse is then there for longer, and in the back of your brain you're thinking, oh, you know, how much longer am I going to find that right person? And they always do come along. I'm a big believer of the horse finds you, you don't go and find the horse. And then kind of, might sound a bit corny, but like magic is created, like really lovely stories of people just fundamentally loving the horse. And that is the priority, but you have to be a bit of a stubborn, you have to be really stubborn in that process. Really stubborn.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Lou, I'm glad that you've been able to bring some magic to our presentations today. I think when we think about what good does look like, what you've shown us today is without a doubt at the high water mark, and we do thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.